AC, the second chances for you guys last game were pretty massive. I think you outscored them by 20 some in second chance points just through offensive boards flying in through the elbows. What are some keys for you all in that department, and how big will that be in a matchup like this one tonight against a good rebounding team?
Yeah, I think that's been a good inflection point for us during the year, because I think we've played good defense at times and we just haven't finished possessions for whatever reason, whether we're not checking out and boxing, or we've missed two centers for an extended stretch, so that doesn't help. But yeah, it's always key just to it's worth more than maybe a bucket sometimes, because sometimes it can be energy giving or draining depending on the possession. And especially against this team, like you said, Cornette, Wemby, Johnson, a good rebounder. They got a couple guys that go in there and crash. So just making sure that we're rewarding ourselves for playing good possessions on defense.
What are some keys for you all against their guards, particularly Fox, and just how shifty he can be?
Yeah, I think just containing the drive. I think there's a lot of times where, even over the last month, where we're closing out and giving guys lanes to drive, and that's going to present problems. No matter who you're playing in the NBA, players are good, and if you give them a crease, they're gonna take the advantage. So, and especially against a guy like De'Aaron Fox, who's like one of the fastest guys in the league on the ball, just making sure that we're trying to stay square and keep him out of the paint, contain the drive.
So you guys had 59 bench points against Miami, and a lot of the guys on the second unit, including you, can play so many different roles. Just how rare is it to have so many guys who can play in so many different skill sets and roles throughout a season?
Yeah, it's pretty unique. I think that's probably what has made us such a good team over the last year and a half, calendar year, or whatever it is. So we got different guys that can step up, and a lot of guys that are competitive and want to be great players. Put the work in every day to be great players. So it's always rewarding and fulfilling to see guys go out there and play well and perform during the games.
You guys are famously a very even-keeled team in your approach. Is there anything different or extra with this one, given the success they've had against you recently?
No, I mean, they still count for one. Obviously, we'd like to not have lost in Vegas because there's a lot of money on the line. That one stings for that reason. And then the one at Christmas, I think, Christmas game, we want to win that one. So, like, the one in San Antonio, we kind of laid an egg, I feel like, in the second half and kind of gave in to some fatigue. But again, it's one game, and like all these things, like we're in a great position, thankfully, and obviously it's halfway through the season, so we got a lot of games to play. But we're in a position to where we're kind of like, you're tooling for the games that matter at the end of the year in the summer, and obviously you don't want to not win a game against a team during the regular season. Like, that's not part of the agenda. Like having, that mental edge, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. Like you go out to compete and win games just to be able to get there. But they're learning experiences for us, and like I think each game that we've played, I think we've gotten a little better and a little smarter on like how they want to play us, and how we can play against them. But it's not like season's hit or miss whether we win or lose.
And I think I know you well enough to think that you probably want to get a lot of good looks at three again. So,
If they give them to me, yeah. I mean, that's every game. I think even last game, I think I passed up a couple that, or at least one that I remember that I could have shot. But that's just like the ebbs and flows of the league. Like there's nights guys cross match us all the time, and you get two shots. Like there's some nights where it happens where I got 12, and maybe I shouldn't have shot 12. Maybe I should have shot like 8. Maybe a couple of them weren't great shots, or I caught them bad. It was bad reads. But yeah, just be competitive to win the game and play basketball. I think that's usually when I'm at my best. And if that's taking a bunch of shots, it's taking a bunch of shots. If it's playing defense, it's playing defense. That's kind of just what I got to do to try and help us win. Figure out what the game asks of me.
You mentioned needing to contain their drives. I mean, you look around the West, and there are playoff teams that are looking for a secondary ball handler. They got 3 guys that can run offense sufficient. I guess success they've had against you guys would speak maybe more to the template they have as a team and sort of the roster they built.
I mean, I think that's the template that the league is going to. I think that's why, us in Indiana made the finals last year, was we had multiple guys making reads, creating plays, depending on what the defense told you to take. And that's, there was 4 or 5 guys on the court at any point in time for both teams in the biggest stage, and that's how they both played. I think that's kind of what the game is transformed into like dribble, pass, shoot. Everybody can kind of do everything, but it's really getting to the point to where it's like you got to have 3 or 4 guys on the court at all times that can take people off the dribble, shoot, make the right play, and it's just hard to guard if you do that. Like there's no trap door for the defense where it's like, all right, you can plug off this and force it here or do this. It's like you just have to be really sharp with your X's and O's and your habits of closing out, Xing out, winning one-on-one closeouts, like moving as a team in shell. And that's some of the hardest stuff to do because, like I said earlier, guys are just really, really good and really good.
Sort of along those lines, it seems like one of the other formulas during that finals win for you and Indiana was the on-court chemistry. Just how much does Jay Will add to that, recently getting him back? What are some of the things that he does outside of just obviously providing more size for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, he's the kind of player, I think like myself and like a couple other guys where like energy is contagious. He's a loud voice, for good and for bad. Sometimes he can get a little annoying, but for the most time, he's a great teammate and you love hearing his voice because it brings energy to the rest of the group. Whether that's defensively, or just being on the bench and being loud and cheering and being one of the first ones out there to high five guys after a timeout or something. Having that energy and that presence out there, I think, is really beneficial for the rest of the guys.
Wemby's obviously unique as a rim protector. What do you guys need to do to mitigate his strengths protecting the paint?
Yeah, I think just play against him, like obviously don't go one-on-one. Well, they say that I did that last game. You got to lay it. I think it's be smart. You have to be smart with your attacks, just like any good defender. Like, if you got prime Drew Holiday or Tony Allen, you're not going to try and ISO him one-on-one from the wing. Like, that's not a very good option for you. Like, try and move him around, get him out of shell, get him in a closeout. So just finding different ways to, I think, put him in positions that aren't advantageous for him and not for us.
Won't be unusual. You and maybe Jalen get matched up with Wemby. You also were like, Jokic, you play him. 2 different body types. How do you defend those guys? You're giving up so much height compared to Wemby compared to, say, Jokic, who's much thicker than you.
Yeah, your work just starts earlier. I think with guards, your work starts further from the basket and as far as guarding off the dribble. But for bigs, it's working so they don't get positioned at 10 feet, at 15 feet. Because at that point, if they just see over you and shoot the ball. So just being physical and make them catch it out further than they want. And then from there, you got to climb up into the ball. It's another thing where like if you just give them vision and time to kind of analyze and look around, like they're looking how I'm looking over you. Like they can see everything and read the court, and from there they're great players. So they're gonna take advantage and probably score or make a play. So just trying to take their space and then work early. Yeah.
Anybody else? Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Stacey.